In the murky currents of medieval history, no organization has left behind as much controversy and mystery as the Knights Templar. Originating from 9 poor knights with a vow to protect pilgrims, they quickly rose to become the most powerful financial and military force in the world at that time. But did that power come from the Church's favor, or were they truly the chosen ones, destined to hold a divine mandate far beyond mortal comprehension? This argument does not merely stop at their glorious exploits on the battlefields of the Holy Land, but also delves into fascinating hidden corners, from the suspicion that they found the Ark of the Covenant beneath Solomon's temple, to the early banking system that changed the economic face of Europe, and the tragic end on the fateful Friday the 13th. Were they God's chosen warriors meant to guard humanity's final secret, or merely pawns in the power games of kings? Let us peel back the layers covering the symbol of 2 riders on 1 horse to seek the true answer behind this legend. 1. The rise from the dust. The first footsteps in the Holy Land, Jerusalem, 1099. After the First Crusade, the Holy City became a land of paradoxes, a dream paradise for the faithful, yet a living hell fraught with danger. Pilgrims from all over Europe, having traveled thousands of miles, frequently became prey to bandit gangs and remnants of defeated armies on the roads leading to the Holy Sepulchre. It was in this chaotic context that a small group of 9 French knights, led by Hugues de Payan, stepped forward to make a vow that would change history. They called themselves the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ. With no castles and no land, their iconic image was 2 knights riding on a single horse, a testament to their absolute destitution and humility. They committed to living in poverty, chastity, and obedience, dedicating their entire lives to protecting the vulnerable. However, a major question has persisted for centuries. Why would a meager group of knights, possessing no wealth, be favored by King Baldwin II of Jerusalem and allowed to headquarter right at the ruins of the Temple of Solomon? The bizarre knot lies here. Within just a decade from being poor, they suddenly received the ultimate approval from the Pope through the papal bull Omni Datum Optimum. They became an entity existing outside the laws of kingdoms, exempt from taxes and answering only to God. This meteoric rise makes one inevitably question the narrative. Were they not as poor as they appeared? Or did they discover something beneath the ancient temple's foundations, an artifact or a divine truth that made them the chosen ones to guard the destiny of the entire Christian world? This rise from the dust is not merely a tale of bravery, but the beginning of a legend about those holding the keys to faith and power. 2. The power of the chosen. When faith became an empire. If the formation of the Knights Templar was colored by piety, their rise was a testament to absolute power. The chosen one's argument becomes even more convincing when we look at the unparalleled privileges bestowed upon them by the Catholic Church. Through the papal bull Omni Datum Optimum, 1139, the Knights Templar officially became an entity above all. They did not have to pay taxes to any nation, were not subject to the judgment of local bishops, and most importantly, they answered to only one person, the Pope. This transformed them into an international army, a state within a state, free to move across borders with a sacred mission that no secular power had the right to impede. However, the true power of the chosen ones lay not only in swords and spears, but in a financial intellect centuries ahead of its time. In an era where carrying gold and silver on pilgrimage routes was a death sentence, the Knights Templar established humanity's first rudimentary banking system. A believer could deposit their assets at a Templar branch in London or Paris, receive a letter of credit similar to a modern check, encoded with secret symbols, and then withdraw the equivalent amount upon arriving in Jerusalem. This ability to manage transcontinental cash flows not only helped them accumulate massive wealth, but also forced European monarchs to bow their heads to borrow from them. They were not only chosen to protect the Holy Land, but seemingly chosen to lay the first bricks of the modern global economy. This power was operated by an iron discipline that was extremely harsh. A Knight Templar, once sworn in, was never allowed to retreat on the battlefield unless the enemy outnumbered them 3-1. Their lives were a combination of monastic austerity and martial brutality. They ate simple meals in absolute silence, wore characteristic white mantles with a red cross, and were even restricted from excessive bathing to maintain the toughness of an unworldly soul. For them, death on the battlefield was not an end, but the supreme glory of a chosen one to be martyred. It was the combination of political privilege, financial power, and a spirit of steel that turned the Knights Templar into a legendary force, simultaneously admired and feared for the mystery shrouding all their activities. 3. The secret beneath Solomon's Temple, the search that changed history. During the first nearly 10 years after their founding, the original 9 knights did not participate in any large-scale battles, nor did they actively recruit new members. Instead, they spent most of their time stationed at the ruins of Solomon's Temple, considered the most sacred site in Jerusalem. The question is, what did these 9 men do in the shadows of the ancient dungeons for 10 years? Researchers and conspiracy theorists alike converge on one point. They were not just guarding, they were excavating. The target of this search, according to many hypotheses, was the sacred relics lost since the Old Testament era. There are strong beliefs that the Knights Templar found the Ark of the Covenant, the chest containing the 10 Commandments and the power of God, or the Holy Grail, the cup used by Jesus at the Last Supper. However, a more realistic and terrifying theory suggests that what they found was not gold, silver, or a precious cup, but ancient texts. These documents might have contained different truths about the life of Jesus or sacred geometry regarding architecture and the universe. If these documents had the potential to shake the foundations of the contemporary church, it would explain why the Vatican granted them unimaginable privileges in exchange for their silence and loyalty. The sudden change after they left Jerusalem is the clearest evidence of the fruits of this excavation. From poor knights relying on alms, they suddenly became master architects and the most powerful financiers in Europe. Look at the rise of brilliant Gothic cathedrals across France immediately after the Templars returned. These structures possessed construction techniques far beyond the scope of their era. It is believed that beneath the foundations of Solomon's Temple, they were chosen to receive forgotten ancient knowledge, a kind of heavenly wisdom that allowed them to manipulate both stone and currency. This rapid wealth cannot be explained solely by ordinary donations. It resembled the explosion of an empire that had grasped the source of the world. Did they find the true treasure of King Solomon? Or did they possess a spiritual secret so immense that it could be used to bargain with both the Pope and emperors? Whatever the truth may be, 10 years hidden underground in Jerusalem transformed them from unknown warriors into the sole holders of the key to a new world order. 4. Betrayal and Black Friday, the curse on the pyre. When the power of the Knights Templar reached its peak, they inadvertently became a thorn in the side of European dynasties. Leading this wave of hatred was King Philip IV of France, a monarch deeply mired in debt following costly wars. To Philip, the Knights Templar were no longer defenders of the faith but a mobile bank too dangerous to exist. Envy erupted when he realized he could not control an organization with its own army, its own finances, and which obeyed only the Pope. To erase his debts and seize their assets, Philip orchestrated the most brutal purge plan in medieval history. At dawn on Friday, October 13th, 1307, a massive sweep took place across France. Hundreds of knights were arrested, right as they awoke, accused of heresy, devil worship, and desecrating the cross. This horrific event has been etched into the human consciousness, turning Friday the 13th into a symbol of bad luck and ill omens to this day. The chosen ones now became the hunted, enduring savage torture to force them into confessing fabricated crimes. The climax of the tragedy was the execution of the order's last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. In 1314, on a small island in the middle of the Seine River, before the flames engulfed his body, de Molay shouted a shocking curse: "Pope Clement, King Philip, within a year I summon you to appear before the tribunal of God to receive judgment." The fulfillment of this curse cast a mystical shadow over the order's downfall. In less than a year afterward, Pope Clement V died of a sudden illness, and King Philip IV also perished following an unexpected hunting accident. The deaths of the betrayers seemed to be the final confirmation that, even if the organization could be wiped out, the divine mandate of the chosen one still carried a spiritual power beyond the control of mortals. The death of Jacques de Molay on the pyre was not the end of the Knights Templar legend, but was essentially the beginning of a mysterious new chapter: their concealment. Historical reports indicate that despite intense persecution, a large part of the Templar fleet at the port of La Rochelle disappeared without a trace along with their massive treasure. Many theories suggest that the survivors sailed to Scotland, a land outside the Pope's control at the time, to assist King Robert the Bruce in the war for independence. Here, the spirit of the chosen ones is believed to have blended and been reborn in secret societies, the most famous of which being the Freemasons, with architectural symbols and rituals bearing the heavy imprint of Solomon's Temple. Today, their legacy lies not only in dusty historical pages or ancient castle ruins, but lives fiercely in popular culture through blockbuster movies and detective novels. The image of warriors in white cloaks with red crosses has become an eternal symbol of the combination of bravery and ultimate secrets. Looking back at the journey from supreme glory to a tragic end, the question remains: were they truly the ones chosen by divine destiny to guard artifacts that could change humanity, or merely chosen to be scapegoats for the greed and envy of secular power? Whatever the answer may be, the Knights Templar will forever remain an eloquent testament to the power of belief. They lived, fought, and disappeared like historical ghosts, leaving posterity with a profound lesson. What belongs to the divine may be buried under the dust, but the mysteries they protected will always find a way to survive in the minds of those seeking the truth.